I have this older compact TriStar model C8, and I think it's got a replaced motor in it. So when I turn it over, it's going to be impossible for you to read. It's even difficult for me to read. All it says right there is 6 amps. That's it. I mean, there's 50, 60 hertz, there's 110, 115 volts, but there's just one current rating, just 6 amps. And of course, the model right there says C8. So this is the one that has a high-low speed switch. So let's take a look at what my current meter says when I turn this on. As you can see, a little less than 8 amps. I think it was around 7.8 amps. So obviously way more than 6. And let's turn it on high now. And we're close to about 9.6 amps. So I think I want to take this apart and I want to see what motor has been put in here and maybe even look into changing bearings. So here's a close-up of this motor, and I'm going to guess this is a month and a year. Maybe that's not what that means, but that's my best guess. So it's the Ametek, Kent, Ohio, and the model is 116367-00, 120 volts. Doesn't say anything about current anywhere, but I'm going to guess this was replaced in 1997. So I can certainly polish the commutator. You certainly can replace the carbon brushes. I don't know if I can get this motor apart any further than this. I will look into it. I think there is hope. So I take this little bracket assembly off and I get the carbon brush holder out, or at least out of the way, and I don't know if you can see that. Right here there's a long bolt right in there, and I think that's going to allow me to take this assembly out once I get this front nut off. And I think now I can get to the bearings. I have those. So let's see if I can get that where it'll focus. Good luck. Let's see. About right there. Oh, not quite. Still not quite. Too close. All right. 608Z. Cool. So I'm checking this bearing, and you know, I don't feel a lot of grittiness in it one way or another when I try to spin it or anything. But you know what I do feel? There's a weird amount of resistance in there. It just feels like it's, I don't know, got a bunch of sludge in there or something like that. But it's not gritty. Of course, here's my new one, and it feels, well, much smoother and doesn't have nearly as much resistance. So definitely gonna replace this. Now that I got the old bearing off, I can definitely feel that this thing is a wreck. I mean, hey, it's from 1997, you know? And yeah, it's gravelly and gritty, and it has a bunch of stuff in there that's actually prohibiting it from turning very quickly. It's got a lot of resistance. It's got a lot of resistance. So we'll pop this thing open and take a look at it a little bit. The story thus far. So we have don't need that right now. We have a new bearing on, nice 608Z, really fantastic, because the old one was really, really sad. So let's see if I can get this to focus and not have stuff fall off. Dry as a bone, both sides. And as far as the covers, there's a little bit of a difference there. See this cover right here? Nothing. If it had anything, it's not there now. And this one, well, you could see there was a remnant of something, but it's not really having a whole lot of an effect. So yeah, and this also runs really, really rough. So a lot of resistance on there. All right, so that's been replaced. But what I really want to talk about is this guy. So this fits in here like that. Eventually. There we go. And, you know, this is an old style way of doing bearings. But this particular rear bearing, I mean, look at that. There's just, if there was anything there, it perfectly dried. But there's nothing there. And there's not any kind of like sponge material to hold any lubrication one way or another. So I've got several choices. And I think probably a typical choice might be to put something like this in there. But there's a problem with this type of bearing, and they've always bugged me personally. They don't have a way to keep this moist. This just dries out. And while it's not a real, you know, strong like metal on metal connection, I mean, it's still metal to metal one way or another, and it's going to generate heat. And there's nothing keeping this lubricated. So I know it's going to make some people upset. I'm thinking of this. So it's a, you know, it's a motor bearing grease. It's something that I can put in here and I can slather it all over the place. And I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And what I want is for it to last. I want for it to not dry up. And this won't dry up. Whereas this will over time, as good as it is. So I think I'm actually going to try that. By the way, I've tried it before with the mobile grease, and so far, everything seems to be okay. It's a very light, thin grease. It doesn't flow like fluid, but it seems to be a good substitution for either doing nothing or putting in something that's like 30 weight motor oil. Anyway, that's what I'm going to try. And I've got a handy dandy temperature gun that will let me know if something maybe goes a little funny, so I can monitor the temperature. So before we button everything back up, I should put this little rubber seal on. And I need to do some tests to make sure that this works okay and everything spins right. So I'll put this seal on. I think I will stop for a minute. And then we're going to run this and see what it does. Set it up so we can see everything. Now the moment of truth. I think we have power. I'm not sure what the switch setting is. Let's start off on low. See if this starts or not. All right. Click this dude on. There we go. Well, it's pretty smooth. Still need to polish that commutator though. So let's just run it for a minute. Let's try high. Nice and smooth. I'm not noticing anything weird. No smoking, obviously. No excessive sparking at all. But that commutator is super dirty, so let's go and polish that. away we go. Now that's what I want to hear. That is a wonderful smooth wind down. And that giant wad of grease that I put in there is staying there. It hasn't gone out anywhere. Not spraying all over the place. So, seems to be okay so far. Let's hear that one more time, and I'm going to do a current check. And I'm expecting it to be different because there's not as much resistance at the moment compared to what we did before. All right, I was at 9.3 amps. Now I have it on low. Nice and shiny. And now we were at 7.8 amps. Yep, I think that's going to work. So we can go and put it back in the clamshell and button her up. Well, getting the motor and everything else back in there is a little fiddly. So let's see if I can manage to get this thing back together again. Not have any leaks. So after a few minutes of fiddling, I figured out an easy way to put this rubber seal back on was give a push from the inside, start here with the screwdriver, and then basically gently go all the way around, and then it popped on. So that wasn't too bad, but I wasn't sure of the best way to actually go and get that seal back on. So keep this lid from coming off. We'll do this. I got a few screws to put back in, and we can test it, see how it's doing. So you can see the low and high. Let's see what we got. How'd we do? Put it on low. Really nice. Okay, one TriStar done. Now I guess I got to do the other one.